Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Hollywood freaking the freak out. That's all I can say this early into the video. About the tariffs and the most notably the decline in advertising revenue, or the anticipated decline in advertising revenue, because so many of them pivoted to ad-supported tiers on their streaming services.
Right. And even Disney at their meetings, they would talk about that when they have their calls and things. They were doing that on purpose. They had them in different places saying they were doing it. They wanted people to go to the ad-supported tiers, the cheaper ad-supported tiers, because they make more money in the long run off of the ads, which I've been telling you. And now that might bite them in the butt because advertisers don't have the money because of tariffs and stuff.
Yeah, because of the tariffs. And we're going to talk because some of the biggest advertisers now, Temu or Temu. It's actually pronounced.
I always said Temu.
It's actually pronounced. It was pronounced for the longest time. So we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion here. For the longest time, everybody pronounced it Temu. Then they did that Super Bowl commercial and they were calling it Temu. But TikTokers are like, no, it's Temu. And they even called themselves Temu. But then they called it Temu because Karens were calling it Temu. Whatever you call it.
I'm not Karen. It's Temu.
They're
not. It doesn't matter. They're in trouble either way.
They're not going to be advertising like they were. And if you've been to any website or any streaming service in the last year, it's all Temu and SHEIN, Chinese, company ads. I don't really see them
personally, but
Oh, I see them all over the place.
Well, I don't see them when I'm watching streaming services. I see them more on YouTube or other places.
Websites, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch.
I see them less as video ads and more of like the little pop-ups.
Like, hey, you want this thing? Buy this thing. Buy 10 of these things. Facebook, they're all over Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
But they're cutting back on advertising because of the tariffs, because now their stuff is incredibly expensive. Speaking of which, well, here first, before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Speaking of which, tariffs are hitting guys like us, too. We were going to launch this new pin campaign for orcs or a-holes. And now I'm going to have to look for another supplier because the tariffs are kind of an a-hole and they're driving the prices up. So, it's going to hit everybody. But if you guys want to sign up for whenever we launch it, I don't know when we're going to launch it. It's out on BackerKit now. Lots of orcs doing awful things because we think orcs are awful. We do think orcs are awful.
You think more so than me. I don't really think about them that much, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think about you. Stupid green skin.
You're so awful. I don't even care.
So... Anyway, they're all freaking out. They're worried we're going to have another 2008. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how things are going to play out. I think that the tariff situation, like I've said in the videos dealing with the video game industry and the tabletop industry, I think right now it is basically a game of chicken. I think Trump is trying to force a negotiation and I don't know what's going to happen in the interim. I mean, it could take months. Who knows?
Wait, 2008 was almost 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, in 2008, for those of you who were old enough to remember, and I think most of our audience is probably old enough to remember, that was kind of the retail snap. 2008, the stock market crashed, and it was like dominoes. It was like every week we heard about a new retailer going out. That was the year that I think malls pretty much died, right? Because all the retailers went out, and they're worried about it happening again because it happened on TV too, that all the advertising dried up. And it
was not good.
It was not good. A lot of people went out of business. That's when I got laid off. Was the tail end of that because of just the economy just sucking. And they said now the economy feels like it's on precipice again with tariffs induced shock stinging global markets. So basically, everybody sent their stuff to China to get manufactured. Now China is incredibly expensive. Oh no, what are we going to do? They said advertising took a hit in 2008 with Disney, as did the theme parks. The result of consumers re-examining their vacation plans. But they said ESPN saw growth thanks to contractual rate increases and pay TV's ubiquity. But they said now it's different. They think there's going to be a shock to the system for people. And a lot of people, I mean, Disney especially is getting, and we talked about this before, they're going to be, I think, more open to disruption because now people are going to be like, yeah, I can't really afford a $6,000 vacation.
No, and that's what they're saying. I mean,
Oh, and a
That's what they're
ride.
saying about, yeah, I've been seeing about Disney too, that places are walking back their stock estimates on Disney. And one of the big problems is that people can't afford, with everything going up, they can't afford trips to Disney. And Disney's going to take a hit, with the streaming and everything else too. And they're not going to make as much money in advertising probably. But the theme parks was a big part of the problem. So they're walking back their targets on Disney now.
Yeah, and they're talking too. They said back then people still kept their cable subscriptions. There weren't other options. Most people weren't transitioning to cord cutting because they couldn't really back
Some
then.
people did. We did. So they're going to go. They're saying they'll probably keep Netflix and go to YouTube. And it's like, hey there.
Yeah,
Welcome.
right. Hey there. But they said that there's so many streaming services out there and people can just unsubscribe with the click of a button.
They can.
Right?
And then you know
easy.
what? Honestly, if you don't watch it very much, if you wait a month or so, the services are so desperate, they'll offer some big deal for you to come back. Then you come back while the deal period lasts, unsubscribe again, wait a couple months, reset the deal again. That's what people are doing.
Yeah. They're saying that most know that advertising is always impacted in recessions. This is true. Every time there's a bump in the road, the advertisers get cold feet.
Marketing's first one to go.
Marketing's always the first thing to get cut. They said there's a reason to believe that recession this time could be worse than it was in the past. In 2008, TV was the king of advertising, accounting for the lion's share of ad spend, according to Magna. Today's advertising is different, with tech giants Google, Meta, and Amazon dominating the space, with performance-driven ads as TV's piece of the pie shrink. So they all pivoted. What they're saying is they all pivoted to streaming, which is going to be a double-edged sword because you can unsubscribe from streaming and, the ad rates aren't going to be as high probably as they were for cable. Because back then, they used to sell
But unfortunately, these companies have all gone in and pushed everybody to go to the ad-supported tiers because they were double dipping, which I've told you repeatedly about Disney, that was a double dip for them. When everybody's like, oh, Disney lost to the Charter spectrum. Like, no, they didn't. Because they got all those customers now that Charter's paying for her wholesale and they get to sell ads to. They did not lose. They double dipped. And so they've all spun their business model to double dip, and you get a cheaper ad-supported tier that's loaded with ads, and they get all the money. Well, now they're not getting those higher end subscriptions in lieu of that, and now they're going to have to figure that out because the ads might not be there either.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. You pushed everybody away you make it very simple terms. Like if everybody was paying $20 and you're like, okay, you get $20, but if the ad rates are good, then we're going to push them to the $7 tier because at $7 we're actually making $45 a head instead of $20 a head.
Correct. But now if the advertising's down, they're back to making like $8 or $9, where if they kept the $20, and they still have the $20 tier, but most people, jump ship to the cheaper one.
Yeah. And and you're not going to get them to go back to the more expensive one.
No, at this point, if they need to cut costs more, they're just going to cut it completely. They're not going to downgrade because there's nothing to downgrade to.
They'll be like, yeah, you know what? I haven't touched Disney Plus in 2 months and I'm paying for it. Why am I paying for it?
Plus, as soon as you sign up for Disney Plus, you apparently waive all your rights to sue them. So there's that also.
So they said that this will probably be the kill shot for linear TV because people will cut that.
Which is really funny because Disney was already looked like they were trying to bring back linear TV somewhat with their Phineas and Ferb and all that.
Yeah. So they're freaking out. They said, this is Moffett-Nathanson. Moffett-Nathanson said on April 9th, $45 billion in ad revenue could be lost. Should budget shift away from linear TV at an accelerated pace, we see the risk of more permanent reallocation toward connected TV and broader digital channels. And even those rates are going to be down.
Yeah, they're going to go down, but but more money will go to places like YouTube and things like that than they're going to be on. Yeah.
Right. And this is also going to kill off, we talk a lot about websites and everything too. And if these websites are hanging on by their fingertips, these blogs, because the traffic, and we know this firsthand, the traffic has been cut off almost completely by Google. And
no one's doing anything about it, by the way.
Nobody's doing anything about that. They're all worried about their streaming and their whatever, but nobody cares about the poor old blogs. So they're dying. So we're probably going to see the end of a whole bunch of Valnet sites. And can I say their name?
The internet's going to be completely different in a few years. I think we're going to see there's going to be a shift because it's like, what value is it for people to bother when there's no money in it? And then all it's going to be is content controlled by those with money. They couldn't win on net neutrality, so they basically found a way around it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it feels like. It feels like they didn't end run around net neutrality. It's like, well, hey, 98% of people use Google as their search engine. What if we just didn't send them to outside sites? What if we controlled what they saw? What if we just parked them on our site with AI and monetize them?
It used to be okay, cool. That you can have your own website, might be secure, but you could say what you wanted, and people would still find it. No, they're not going to find you now if they don't want them to find you.
Yeah. So they're talking about how sports might save Disney.
Yeah, that's their one thing they might have, because they still have all the live events, and people might put a lot more of their advertising dollars into that.
Yeah. They said that it's not all doom and gloom. They said actually some businesses are doing healthier. The music business is better than it was in 2008, because 2008 they were still dealing with people pirating a lot of music, and now they said Spotify was just an experiment in Sweden, and it's huge now, and some people just make a living off of Spotify.
They're saying they're doing it better than compared to 2008, or doing better than 2008.
They're doing way better than they were in 2008, because back then.
Well, yeah, but that was 2008, and it was completely different from now to then, as far as how music could be. That's like apples and oranges, honestly. But anyway.
Yeah, they said Netflix is more resilient. So basically what's going to happen is the big players will stay in the game.
I mean, Disney will probably stay in the game. It's just that they're not going to make as much as they want. But then again, the ones that are left are going to get more.
Yeah, that's just
it. If the ones that can hold on in the end will get more.
Well, this is what happened in 2008. So we had a big shakeout we had competitors, Walmart competitors get shaken out. We had mom and pop businesses go out, and then the pandemic killed off even more mom and pop. So you're basically left with Walmart and Amazon.
Well, tariffs are going to kill even more mom and pops.
And tariffs are going to, because Walmart can make deals. Amazon can absorb it. Walmart can absorb it. But the mom and pops, even the mom and pops that depend on overseas components to make stuff over here, they might make stuff over here, but they still have to get the components.
Well, like Walmart and stuff, that you might see your stuff go up a few cents an item, because they can offset it across, millions of people buying stuff. But a mom and pop shop can't do that. They have a limited customer base that they have to offset that, pass that off to, and it's gonna be too expensive. People can't afford it.
Well, that was kind of like we talked about. We did another episode today talking about Wizards of the Coast and how, it's going to be more expensive for Hasbro to produce stuff. But like when it comes to book printing or something like that, they're probably already not paying very much because they print so many books. But if you're talking about somebody that does a Kickstarter that might only do 500 books or 1,000 books, you're talking several dollars per book.
Right. Difference. The percentage is the same, but it's gonna hit them harder.
Right. And there's nothing to offset it either. So it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, they're basically saying that all these Hollywood companies are freaking out because they were all like ad revenue, and they're like, oh shite, that's not going to work either. And people aren't paying for your stuff, and a lot of people aren't going to the movies now because they're like, oh, we'll just wait for Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing, because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, because it sounds to me like where the ad money is going to go is places like Netflix, YouTube. Maybe like Disney, that might see it. They might not get as good rates though. Right. And then at the end, everything that can't sustain will fall and fold off, and we'll have more jobs gone, more companies gone, and the ones that are left will benefit more. Yeah, pretty much. But in the meantime, it's a roller coaster ride on the way down. Well, we're gonna have a lot to cover if we can afford to cover it. Yeah, those who can hold on will be okay. But those who aren't strong enough are gonna fly off the roller coaster and end up in the county next door. I can't talk. All right. Are we gonna wrap this one up? Yes. Please subscribe. I need food. Yeah, you need food. Let's go get some food. Can we afford food? Are we good? Yes. Can we afford food now? Please subscribe. If we couldn't, I know how to grow it. So there you go. There you go. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. Bye.